This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So I'm going to take a look here at some auto stocks, Tesla, GM, Ford, Stellantis, and Carvana. Now remember that subsidies, $7,500 on EVs, runs out at the end of this month. So I think they're going to have good quarters, but what is going to be going on down the road is going to be key. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy, sell, stock market ETF. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, starter off here, we have Tesla. Now this is one of my favorite trades. And that's what it is for me is a trade, okay? Now, remember, their numbers, what their delivery numbers are going to be out here this either Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So you got to want to pay attention to that. But a lot of people will blow it off. They say, well, yeah, you know, we're worried about the self-driving, the robotics, and all this kind of stuff. But let me tell you something. Those numbers matter, okay? And especially going forward here, once the subsidies is going to be cut off here at the end of the month, okay? So just remember that. So what we have here is what we're watching. Is right there, 444.98. Now you can see here we went above that today at 450.98. Okay, but this is what you're watching on the closing gate, 44.98. Now again, if we can get above that, then we test that 450.98 level. Then we're going to come right up here. See how easy this is? Bring the price channel right across. That's your next target. Is going to be 465.33. Now we get above that bad boy, and then we come up to the top of this candle here. We're looking at 457.51. 463.19 level. Have a look here, and then we're going to be looking at that 483.99. But right here is going to be the big boy, 488.54 level. But you have to close above this 444.98 in order to get there, okay? Now, if we crack this, obviously you're going to go to that 500. They got price targets all the way up there up to 600 on this stock here. But again, just remember, these deliveries are going to be important. Going forward is going to be important. They're tanking here in China and in Europe here. They're just not selling the car. So depending on U.S. here. Now, California came out and they said, well, this is when the T-Man took off the took off the subsidies, $7,500. So California says, well, we're going to make it up. Now California comes out and says, no, we're not going to subsidize anything with $7,500. So they kind of turned on that. So just be very, very careful when you're trading the stock. All the information matters, not just one little thing, okay? So let's get into a little bit more deets here, okay? So what it is, we had that topping tail here so far. That's the key level. Is going to be right there, that 444.98 level. Now, this here is going to be key support. It's going to be that 431.31 level. That's your 8-day. And then we come down to the bottom of that candle, looking at 421. And we come down here, we're looking at that 419 level. Now, there's a gap right down here, okay? So watch that. That's 402.43 if this sells. And then on top of that candle, 496.69. Gap and your fill, and then we have your 21 SMA all the way up here at that 390. Now, if we start losing that, then you want to just look right to the left of the chart here at that 367.71 level. That's going to be very, very key, okay? And then what we do is we just keep following that down, okay, 357.54 until we hit down to that 50 SMA at 354.19, and then you have your 100-day, and then you have your 200-day. Now, the key about this is you can see here how you had this breakout. It goes up outside the price channels, then a consolidation, and then we have another consolidation here. But the key is going to be a closing above this key 444.98. That's going to be key. Now we're up to an overbought condition here, and we have negative divergence. Okay, see how we have this high here? We have a higher high. We had a high here, and now we have a lower high. So we have negative divergence on your RSI. So pay attention to this. This is going to be very, very key. Now, the green is over your red, shows momentum. But again, it's going to need something here big to take it and close it above that 444.98. Now, the deliveries might do it because in this time period, I think they're going to have good deliveries, and I think they're going to have a good quarter. The key is, what are you going to do in that fourth quarter when you don't have that $7,500 subsidy, okay? So just remember, if we can crack that above that 444.98, then you're going to look at your next level is going to be right there. That's going to be a big one. 465.33, that's your target. And then 488.54, that is going to be your next big target. And then we can crack that. You're going to go to that 500 market. But just pay attention to this RSI, because we look like in the past here, okay? We had the same kind of a scenario. See where you have a high and a lower high. We had a high and a higher high. What was the result? Okay, came right on down. Okay, so just always pay attention. Now, it doesn't always play out. But again, that's what you really want to watch if you're trading this stock. Now, I trade this law pretty much every day, TSLA, okay? I'm already out of the trade because it did not hold this mark, okay? So I just look for daily cash flow with this one. That's it. Now, the easy way to short this is TSLS, that's an easy way to do a little short ski. So if we start losing that 8-day, then realistically, your next target would be that gap that filled, and then that 21-day, and you lose that, it's going to come down to the 50-day. Now, again, watch those deliveries this week. That's going to be very, very key. Again, it could send this stock higher because I think the deliveries should be good. Again, in this time, I think everybody's rushing in. I want to get that $7,500, and then, you know what I'm saying, make it look good. But just watch that fourth quarter. Very, very key. Now, as far as the self-driving, they are so far behind Whammo that it's just not even, not even funny. They got a big catching up to do, kind of a situation. This robotics and all this kind of stuff. He's going to make robots. Yeah, I get all that. I get it. But when is it actually going to take place? That's the whole key. Okay, let's take a look here now at GM. Okay, GM here, moving up here very, very nicely. But again, remember, just watch the subsidies on the EVs. Now, GM is outselling a Ford and Stellantis, okay? So they're outselling them today, okay, on these EVs. But you got to be very, very careful on what they're doing, because a lot of them are not just sales, a lot of them are leases, okay? And there's no resale on these EVs. That's what you have to understand. When you have a $100,000 Cybertruck and a year later it's worth 60, there's no resale on that. Okay, I can spend $40,000 in gas. I'll never spend $40,000 in gas. Okay, so what we're really watching made a new high today of 62.14. What you're really watching is that 61.98 on a closing basis. Okay, so when we look back to the charts here, you can see here how we broke on out here. We're putting in this nice new high kind of a situation. Now, can it keep on running? Well, we got to see how that's all going to shake out. Now, there is a good demand for cars, but the key, I think, is the biggest demand is these hybrids, okay? Those are really, really is what you want to look at is the hybrids. I think those are really a much better demand because then you have, best of both worlds kind of situation if that's what you want, okay? Now, on the downside, you're going to be watching today's low. That's at 60.80 level, okay? And then we'll come right over top of this candle here. You're looking at that 60 flat. And then we have your 8-day at 59.81, and then we have your 21 SMA. Then we have your 50-day at 56.42 if this does sell off. On the upside, you got to crack above that 62.14, close above that. If you get it, you'll be pushing yourself to that 70 mark. Okay. Now this is not my kind of a stock. Okay. I mean, when Alan Mulally was at Ford, that was a guy that knew how to run a company. I bought that stock at, I think got as low as 121. I think I was in at $1.50, $1.60, sold it at $22. Alan Mulally, he did one hell of a job. He came from Boeing. He only took $1 a year, but he took the options in the stock. Guy made a fortune because he knew how to run a company, okay? Today's times, I don't really see what you're trying to do is, you're stretching payments out 8-10 years. Man, it's just, I don't get it. But anyway, that's how it goes. But anyway, today, what you really want to watch is that 62.14. Okay, we crack above it. Then I say you're going to head right towards that 65 and that 70 level. Downside, just watch that 8-day, watch that 21-day. We lose it, we'll come right down to that 50 SMA here. Okay, let's take a look here at Ford. Okay, here we have Ford. Now, here's the guy who's running this. It is Farley. Yeah, maybe Chris Farley and Tommy Boy could run it better than what this guy's running here. This stock is just a complete dog. Okay, there's nothing here. Look at here. The bottom, you're at $8, and up here, you got $12. I mean, come on with this here. You know what I'm saying? This is just totally ridiculous. Now, you can see here on the earnings here, it came right on down. Then it went sideways action. Another earnings came right on down. Earnings came right on down. This here, we just have a sideways action. Another earnings came right on down. So I don't really see anything here with the Ford except for big high prices. Now, I have an F-150 myself. Nice, it's the FX4 four-door. But, to me, I don't get involved with all that financing. I just cashed it out, and I got it sitting in the garage. Okay, I mean, that's it. But all this hoopla and all this kind of stuff, I don't see how this guy he's not really running a company the way Ford should be actually for be run, okay? Now, the Ford family is doing a great job with the Detroit Lions. That's looking really good. Okay, now you can see here we have an inside day. So what we're looking for on the high side here is looking at that 1232 level, okay? So you have to really crack that 1232 level. If you can, then we have, then we're going to be ready into this gap situation, okay? So there was the gap right there at 1198. We're in the 12s. So if it can rally up here, we just looked at the bottom of that candle, and 1359 basically is your target. And then you keep kicking around and up here at that 1407 until you get up to that 1485 level, okay? But right now we have just a sideways kind of an action, and it doesn't really want to, it doesn't seem like it wants to go higher here, okay? So bottom line here on the downside, you want to watch that 1189, and then we have your 8-day sitting right there at that 11 75, and then we have 1169, and then your 50-day, and then we have your basically your retest at 1131 level. Then we come down here to your 1113. So this is there's no really range here to trade this kind of a situation. So if you're into this here, just basically watch the top of it. If we can close above this key level here, that 1232, if we can close above that, then we can, take this higher right to that gap fill. Okay, let's take a look here at Stellantis. Okay, speaking of dogs, here we go with Stellantis here, okay? They got nothing. Now, Chrysler, they put out a really good car. Always been a big fan of the, the Challenger and the Charger, you know what I'm saying? That new Ram truck, that is awesome. But they can't get off the schneid here. Look at this thing. I mean, you got to figure, you got as high, basically, you're looking at $10 from $9. I don't see what exactly what they're going to be doing with this, except the, trying to sell this and going bankrupt. I don't really see anything here. They got to really get their act together. You got such a really, really extremely tight range here, okay? So right now we're below everything. So you really have to get back above this 21-day, that 942. If you can, then we have 962. Then we come up here at 976, and then we have that 10 level, okay? Then you can push it. You can go up to that, to the 200 SMA here. But realistically, I don't really see it. But if you can, you got gaps up here, okay? So when you look at the top of this candle, you got 1360. You look to the bottom of that candle, you got 1390, okay? So that isn't really much of a run here to invest your money in something like this. Now, on the downside, you really have to hold that 869 level. If not, you come down to 839, and then you can head right down to that 7 kind of a level. Now, when you look at the RSI here, this isn't overbought or oversold. Same thing here. It's just sitting here. I mean, look at this stock here, all the way from 29.51 down to frickin' $8. Okay, now who the hell is running this company? Because this is absolute shit. Okay, so I say, to me, don't waste your time with this. This is just not something that you want to be into. Okay, let's take a look here now at Carvana. All right, Carvana. Now look at the run this bad boy had. All the way from 355 to 400. Look at that shit. Oh my God, look at that. Okay, you just call them up. They'll deliver a car. They'll buy your car. The whole nine. Okay, so this here has got to going on. Now let's just check some of these earnings here. What we had. Okay, earnings came out and down. Okay, earnings came out. We ran up here. Earnings came out. We topped out and came right on down. Okay, so it's not really telling us a whole lot, but we do have a nice good sideways action. We have a nice good green candle here. Okay, so what we're really looking at on the downside is going to watch that 380 level. That's your 8-day. We're going to watch that right there, 21-day 372, and then we come down here to your 359. Then we have your retest 349, and then we have your 340 level. We lose that, you come right to the bottom of this candle here at that 318. Now, the top here, okay, so this is looking here and really looking actually very good. Okay, 396.96. But you can see here how we double topped, came right on down. Now we're going to look back and maybe test that again at that 396. Now, if you crack 396.96 right here, look at your target. Okay, 413. You crack that, it's going to be blue sky. Okay, just like that. This is just a really good chart. Now, I've never traded this, but I'll be looking at it, and we can get there above this 396 level, and we close above it. I'm going to jump in this and take a ride to that 413. You crack that, on next level, you're going to go is going to be that 420, 450, and rack it all the way on up here. Now, this is for a lot of people, an easy way to buy a car. Okay, just go online. You can buy no salesman, no nothing. There's the price, or you want to sell a car, they'll do that. So they make it real easy for you. I've never dealt with them before. But again, it just look at the stock is showing everything on what a great mover this is. Okay. Now you look at the RSI. This is not overbought or oversold. This is a good sideways action. So bottom line, this is what you want to watch on the upside right there. 396.96. If that closes above that, okay, right above that, then this is going to be your target. You crack above that, you're heading right to the blue sky, 420 area. Downside, again, just watch that 8-day. Watch all these key levels. That 8-day, watch that 21-day, and then watch that 50-day, which is holding very nicely. Now you can see it held here, came all the way down, but you're holding there. So respect that 50-day if it comes right down there. So that could be also a very good buying opportunity to take this bad boy higher, kind of a situation. All right, that's what I got for you. I'll be back here after the open close. We'll take a look here at, what are we going to take a look at Bitcoin, at that Ethereum ETF, ETHU, gold, silver, crude oil, natural gas. And we'll take a look at the indexes here, which are, the NASDAQ, S&P are green, Dow's a little bit of red, but always get yourself prepared for Turnaround Tuesday. All right, trade what's in front of you. Now what you want.